Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to sit down and do a full face of Nothing New Drugstore edition. I'm sure most of you guys have seen these videos before. I've done a couple of them before. Allie Glines, I believe, is the originator of these, and they're some of my favorite of her videos. So I've gone through my collection and picked out some drugstore favorites of mine. Some of these are very, very old. Some of these are a little bit newer that I've maybe had for a while but haven't had a chance to give them a good try. And I thought today we would just come up with a very spring-inspired, very pink makeup look. So I've got my pink jewelry on and a whole lot of pink toned makeup products here. So I hope that you guys are excited about this one. Special welcome to those of you that are new or newer to my channel. I hope that you'll stick around, hit the subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so I have nothing on my face yet. I do want to go in with a little bit of primer first. We're going to use the Milani Soft Focus Glow. I'm going to let that sink in and then we're going to do our eyes first, which is not something I typically do. I'm going to take one full pump of this and just apply it everywhere. Alright, so we're going to let that sink in and we're going to jump into eyes. For my eyes today, I wanted to use the Blush Crush palette from ColourPop. I picked this up several months ago after seeing Samantha March use this on her channel. I fell in love with that soft pink makeup look that she did and just felt like I needed to have this in my life, but I just haven't had much of a chance to play with this. I don't know what it was, but this ended up getting pushed to the back of my drawer and I've used it like twice and just haven't had a lot of opportunities to use it, so we're going to use it today. Before we get into it, I do want to just add a little bit of concealer to my eyes, and the concealer that I will be using today is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer, so I'm just going to put a little bit of this on my eyelids just to cancel out any discoloration. I have been noticing as I am getting older that my eyelids are always like 2 shades darker than the rest of my skin. How many of you guys have issues with that? I'm not quite sure what causes that. If you guys have more information than I do, let me know down below because I'm curious about it. But thank heavens for concealer. Now we're good as new. I'm just going to take a little bit of my Rimmel Stay Matte powder, just very lightly lock down those little areas that would crease on me normally. Very little powder on this brush because I do still want my concealer or primer to stay just a tiny bit tacky. Alright, so let's jump into this bad boy. It is such a pretty palette. These are the kind of pinks that are my style. They're a little bit softer, and this color right here, you guys, it does have some glitter in it. It has a lot of glitter in it, actually. I mean, it is a matte base, but it has quite a bit of glitter in it, so that will be fun to play with. I think I've played with that shade once before, but it's been a while, so I don't remember how I felt about it. So I did get a comment from one of you guys a while ago asking me to do an eye look with one eyeshadow brush, and basically showing you whether or not it can be done. It absolutely can be done, and I often do eye looks with just one brush because in my daily life I do lazier makeup looks, and that's kind of just how I roll. Really quick pointer before we get into it. If you are doing a one eyeshadow brush kind of look, the type of brush that I most recommend is something that is soft and fluffy, slightly round or pointed on the top, but also kind of pinched to where it's kind of flat if you turn it sideways. This brush right here is from Moda Brushes. This is from, I think, their Moda Metallics line. This was sent to me a year and a half ago or so. It was the very first PR package I ever got. It's a great brush. I don't use it a ton because I have other ones that are similar to this that I prefer, but this is a really good, more affordable one. Another one that I really like that's somewhat similar to this one is this one here from Coastal Scents. This is the BR250 brush. I think this one is meant to be sort of a dupe or mimic the MAC 217 brush. It kind of has that same rounded shape, but if you turn it sideways, it's slightly pinched. It's nice and fluffy, but if you really want to splurge, two of my very favorites lately are these right here, the Wayne Goss number 18 brush and the Rephr number 1 brush. These are basically the same brush. They have the same density, the same softness, the same shape. They both work amazingly well, and they definitely are a little bit softer than these two right here. But for today's look, we're just going to use this Moda brush. So I'm going to start off by going into this shade right here, which is a very light flesh tone peach color. I'm hoping this will show up just a little bit, and I want to put this basically right above my crease, right up on that large brow bone space that I have right there. If you don't have a lot of brow bone space, you could actually skip this step and just go in with our next crease shade. Alright, so I'm just sort of building that up. It's pretty soft color. I would say if you have more medium skin tone, this is probably not going to show up on you, but if you have light to fair skin, this could work as sort of a soft transition shade. Alright, now I'm going to dip into this middle shade right here, which is the matte light pink. It does have a little bit of glitter in it. I'm guessing it probably won't show up a whole lot, but this one I'm going to put right into my crease and slightly above. I will say if you're doing a one eyeshadow brush kind of look, I think monochromatic looks are an easy option to do with just one brush because they generally look a little bit more effortless, and generally they are a little bit easier to do. You don't need to worry too much about blends or about color placement or anything like that because everything just kind of blends together, which if you're just using one brush is kind of ideal. So after I take that through the crease, I'm kind of just buffing it in circular motions just right here on this outer corner, just to start building up a little bit of that pink color. Most of this will be covered up, but it will kind of help everything blend together later. Alright, and now I want to take this color right here, which is the color just below it. We're going to just dip the very tip of it into there, and we're just going to use this just to deepen up this socket line just a little bit. So I'm not being very precise with where I'm placing this. I'm just lightly running that right through my crease, or where I want my crease to appear. You know what I think would be such a cool video? Is to do the same eyeshadow look on like 3 or 4 different people with different face shapes. I think that would be really interesting just to see how using the same shadows and colors and maybe blending styles changes depending on what your eye shape is, because that's huge. I mean, I have done makeup on a few people before, and it's amazing how different people's eye shapes are, and how what I do on me is not something I necessarily could do on somebody else. I know there are some of you out there that are professional makeup artists, and I'm sure that you are much more knowledgeable on this topic than myself. I just think it'd be interesting to see the application process side by side using the same products. Alright, so I really just want to start deepening out this outer corner before we start adding a little bit more to the lid and doing a shimmer on the lid. I kind of want to use both of these colors in the corner, so let's start off with this corner shade right here, the kind of more mauve toned color, and then we'll go in with the deeper, more glittery, it's almost like a brown toned maroon. So we're going to dip into this one, and I'm going to place this color just right across this outer third of my lid and outer corner. And I really like, especially if I'm using just one brush, I like to kind of turn my brush like this and then kind of pull inwards with it at an angle, because that's going to give you that kind of rounded shape right there without having to worry too much about shaping it yourself. You can kind of let the brush do the work, especially if you have a brush that kind of has a bit of a point to it like this. That is a pretty color. Ooh, I love that. Now we're going to dip the very tip of the brush into this dark shade in the corner. And this one we're really going to concentrate a little bit lower in the outer corner, closer to the lash line. I'm going to put most of my color there, and then I'm slowly going to kind of, in circular motions, drag it up to this outer corner right there. So most of the color is right here on my lash line, and slowly it's blending upwards. And then we can pull just a little bit more inwards as well. I would love to know how many of you guys feel like you're not wearing makeup as much as you were before you were stuck at home all the time. I definitely have noticed that. Now I'm going to go in with this shade right here. This is such a beautiful shade. It's kind of like a pink gold. It reminds me a little bit of the shade in the Huda Beauty Nude Light palette. So I'm going to take this color and I'm just going to pop it all over the center of my lid. I actually don't want to go too far into this outer corner. I went a little far right there, but that's okay. We'll go back and blend that or add a little bit more of the matte shadow. Okay, I'm totally loving that my eyeshadow is completely matching my shirt and my necklace. So there's nothing left on this brush. I'm just kind of blending this edge right here so it's not harsh. I'm going to take a clean finger and I'm just going to tap out this front edge as well. And now we're going to dip into this color right here. I believe this one is a Super Shock shadow. It's a very nice kind of champagne white with an iridescent pink flip to it. And I'm just going to tap that on this inner part of the lid. That is really, really pretty. Ooh, I love that. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now. We might come back and add a little bit more to the outer corner when we do our lower lash line and shape everything out. Let's move into foundation. So for my foundation today, I want to use the Wet n Wild Mega Cushion Foundation. I really want to have a very glowy complexion. I'm not going to use any powder. And this is a great foundation for doing that. So I'm just going to take the applicator. The shade I have is in the shade Light Ivory. It's funny because this one looks very dark, but it's actually quite light on me. I did, however, add, a while back, I did add a little bit of the Cover FX Custom Cover Drops in a pretty dark shade, like a medium shade, to this foundation in an effort to get it to match me a little bit better. So this isn't 100% the Wet n Wild foundation. It does have a little bit of something else in it, but I've heard a couple of you say that this is kind of your favorite foundation, and it is an absolutely beautiful one. If you guys have this foundation or other cushion foundations, I'd love to know how many of you use the little pad that comes with it. Okay, looking a little bit more closely at the center of my face, I feel like I did get too much. So I'm going to take my sponge, which doesn't have anything on it, but it is very damp. And I'm just going to take that on this center part of my face because I feel like if I look close to the mirror, it's looking a little bit heavy in the center. And I'm sure I just applied too much right there. Alright, foundation is done. Let's move into concealer. I'm going to take my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. This one I have is in the color Neutralizer. I'm just going to add a little bit of this under my eyes. This is one of the few concealers that when I run out of it, even though I have a lot of other concealers in my collection and others that I can reach for, this is one that I always love to have on hand because it is one of my drugstore favorites. I do have a couple of spots on my face, and for those I actually want to use this little concealer right here. This I got from Yes Style. It is the tip concealer from the same. I initially laughed at this concealer when I got my package and saw how tiny this thing is, but it's super cheap. It's only about $3, and this is a really good concealer. Now, their shade range is terrible. I think they only have 3 shades, and all of them are relatively fair, so it's certainly not going to work for everyone, but if you have medium light to fair skin and you want something very small and travel friendly, this thing is pretty great. So before we finish off with the face and the eyes, I'm going to do my lips next. I'm going to take this first. This is the Essence 8-Hour Lip Liner. This one is in the shade Keep Receipts. It's a little bit deeper and more pink toned than Because Duh. That one's a little bit more peach and a little bit lighter. Alright, and the lipstick that I picked out today is this one right here. This is from CoverGirl. This one's in the color Caramel Kiss. This is one of my old favorites that I haven't used for quite a while. It's very light, pinky peach. We'll leave it there for now. We'll see. I feel like it's a little bit pink, but we'll see once we get everything done. It might come together in the end. All right, let's move into bronzer. So the bronzer that I picked out today is the Flower Beauty Heat Wave Bronzer. This one is in the shade Sunswept. When I ordered this bronzer, I went back and forth between bronzers, which one I should pick up. I kind of wish I would have gone with the other one that I think is a little bit more cool toned. So I'm just going to take my e.l.f. complexion brush and kind of build that up on there. And we will see how this goes. Alright. Okay, that's pretty. It's very warm, but it is pretty. Once again, I feel like my foundation is too light for me. And it's funny because when I started applying this, I felt like it was going to be too dark. Is there such a thing as reverse oxidation? I'm gonna run across my nose a little bit too, just because my foundation is looking so light. Let's move into blush. So for my blushes, I pulled out these little old gems that I've had sitting in my collection for probably 3 or 4 years. They're from Jordana. Jordana makes these lovely little blushes that I don't know that I've ever heard anyone talk about until a couple of months ago. I heard Jen Phelps talk about these, and these are pretty awesome little blushes. Let me know if you guys have Jordana cosmetics sold near you. I believe Walgreens used to sell them. I have not been in a Walgreens for a really long time, so I don't know if they're still in there. But I have these 3 shades right here. This one is the shade Coral Sandy Beach. This one right here is a little cooler tone, the shade Rose Silk, and then this one is a little bit more of a peachy pink. This one is in the shade Touch of Pink. Let's see. Let's go with this one right here. This one is in Touch of Pink. And I'm going to take it on my Real Techniques blush brush. And I don't remember how pigmented these are, so we're going to start kind of light-handed and just build it up. So this one I feel like is pulling even warmer than it looks in the pan. So I'm going to actually go in with this one right here, which is the color Rose Silk. And we're going to add just a little bit of this just to the apples of my cheeks. For highlighter, I grabbed my Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighter. This one is in the shade Blossom Glow. Another one that I don't use super often. It is a little bit more kind of icy and iridescent, and I'm not usually a huge fan of those kind of highlighters, so we're just going to use it really light-handed. I do really love the Wet n Wild highlight formula, though. You guys can see how intense this is. We might have to kind of blend this out just a little bit, because, woo! Alright, now let's work on that lower lash line. So we're going to dip back into the Blush Crush palette, and I'm going to take my brush, and I think I want to actually dip into this shade down here for my lower lash line. I'm just going to put that on the very tip of the brush. We're just going to run that about halfway across. And now we're going to dip into the very deep shade right here, just on the very tip of the brush, and we're going to add that right to this outer corner, and it's kind of grazing the top and lower lash lines. This is really going to kind of help shape this corner and add just a little bit of depth right below on that very outermost corner. Pretty impressed, guys. One brush, this looks pretty good. I do think I want to add just a little bit right up on this brow bone right here. I'm going to take a mix of these two colors right here, and I just very lightly want to run these right on this outer part of the brow bone right there. And again, wipe off your brush one more time, and we're going to dip into this light matte shade right here and apply this on my brow bone, which I rarely do. Alright, so I'm going to add just a little bit of my Wet n Wild liner just to my waterline right here. And then I'm going to take the Essence Volume Stylist Mascara, add a few coats, and I will be right back. So real quickly with the eyebrows, I'm going to take a little bit of my e.l.f. wax. I've really been loving doing this lately, so I'll put the wax stick in, then I'll go in with my brow pencil to fill things in, and then I will set them in place with the brow gel. I know that's a little high maintenance for someone like me. I don't do this all the time, but if I really want my brows to be special, I like doing this. This stuff really gives my brows volume, which I really like. It makes them appear much more caterpillar-like than they actually are. For my brow pencil today, I'm taking the Wet n Wild retractable pencil. And I'm taking the Maybelline Brow Precise Fiber Volumizer. I love this stuff. I don't think you can find this in most stores anymore. I think I found this one at Marshall's. But for now, they're my brows. They're a little bit dark. I feel like this brow pencil is just a hair dark for me, but I feel like they look pretty good. Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. Alright, I think we are just about done. The very last thing that I wanted to do is add a little bit of gloss. I picked out two glosses. I'm not quite sure which one I want to use. This one right here is Champagne Glam from e.l.f. Here's my issue with this lip gloss. This is the second time this has happened. This is actually a new bottle. Well, not new. I've had this for about 6 months now, but I had to repurchase this gloss because this happens. And this is my complaint with a lot of drugstore products in general. They just, packaging-wise, don't hold up like higher-end products do. So if you're okay with dealing with this situation, just be warned. This is the third one. I have two of these now in the same color, and then a pink version that did the same thing. The gloss lid fell off. But I also grabbed the Revlon Super Lustrous Gloss. I believe they've reformulated these, but this is one of the old versions. This one's in the color Supernatural, and I really love this gloss. Let's go ahead and go with this one because I feel like the color will match perfectly. Let me know if you guys have tried out their new gloss formula and if it's very different from this one. Alright, and this is it for today's makeup look. I really like how this one turned out. Very spring appropriate, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope that you guys are having a good start to your May. I hope that everyone is well and healthy and relatively happy. Before you leave, one more reminder to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you again, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye. I don't know what is going on upstairs. They are jumping off the couches, swinging from the chandelier. I keep saying that. The same brush. We're using one brush, Mandy. Stop explaining what brush you're using. This dark corner in the shade. Dark corner in the shade. That was backwards. Does anybody else get annoyed by these kind of stickers that have like the extra secret information on the second layer of the sticker and then you can't put them back down? Every time I pull it out, it bugs me like a tiny bit. We're gonna go in with my e.l.f. complexion brush. Did you see that?